Shimon, my aunt's father-in-law, pulled me outside the house, outside the fence of their home. And he said, come here. And in very broken Arabic, because he thought I don't understand Assyrian, and I didn't much. And he said, do you see this fence of this house? And I said, yes. He said, inside that fence is Assyria.
Hello friends, Shalom Alochon Bnei Umti Mochabeb. Eater Ibrahim here with episode 146. And boy, has it been a long time since I've been with you all. And believe me, I've missed you all. We hope that you had a chance to catch up on some of the previous episodes you may have missed along the way and are ready for today's episode with Firas Jatou. You know, thanks to Zinda magazine, I knew of Firas for several years before meeting him in person. He was a recurrent contributor to the magazine, and I spent much of my teenage and early adult years reading and rummaging through Zinda as a way to connect to Assyrian activists across the globe. Admittingly, I still access the Zinda archives from time to time. Later on in life, I would see Firas at community events such as the Assyrian Convention or lectures here and there. But thanks to this podcast, I was able to reconnect with Firas. What was originally planned for a brief sit-down turned into spending half of the day and lunch with Firas and his beautiful family. Some of the impactful takeaways from our conversation was my realization of the rapid decline of our Assyrian intelligentsia, the difference and hindrance between the doers and sidelined individuals in our nation. Firas also made it clear that we need to all stop working as individuals and strengthen our institutions so that they can stay operating and sustainable for the years to come. And finally, how he wants to leave an impactful legacy for his family and community. And I didn't sense it was a materialistic impact, but more so about leaving a legacy for your nation, not just in the diaspora, but most importantly for those in our indigenous lands, our people. Firas Fawzi Jatou was born in Baghdad, Iraq, leaving Iraq as a teenager and eventually immigrating to Toronto, Canada, and later on to the United States. Firas has been active in Assyrian affairs for over 30 years and credits Malfono Ninos Aho and Rabbi Alfred Duman for igniting his passion for Assyrians. Some of his accomplishments include publishing the first Assyrian website in 1993, Assyria Online, and he was one of the co-founders of the Assyrian International News Agency, also known as AINA, and most notably was an early investor in the Assyrian heartland of the Nineveh Plains, Deshtet Nineveh. Firas currently lives in Los Gatos, California, and is married to Susan Nisan. Susan and Firas are the proud parents to an 11-year-old boy, Taishan. Firas holds a master's degree in electrical and computer engineering. He is currently on the executive staff serving as the senior vice president and the general manager of onsemi, a publicly held multi-billion-dollar technology company. He also holds multiple patents in the technology and engineering field. Support for this week's episode of the Assyrian Podcast is brought to you by my favorite attorney, Tony Kalogerakos and the injury lawyers of Illinois and New York. If you know anyone that has been in a serious accident, please reach out to Tony Kalogerakos. Tony has been recognized as a top 40 lawyer and a rising star by Super Lawyers publication and has obtained multiple multi-million-dollar awards. Tony can be reached at injuryrights.com or 847-982-9516. This episode is also sponsored by the Oshana Partners, a husband and wife real estate team. Are you considering purchasing or selling a home in Arizona or California? John and Rita are available to help make your next real estate decision into a seamless transaction. Contact the Oshanas at 209-968-9519. Get to know them a bit more by checking out their website, theoshanapartners.com. That's TheOshanaPartners.com. The Oshana Partners. And now, let's listen to Firas Jatou. Firas, welcome to the Assyrian Podcast. It is a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and honor to be among all the folks that you've interviewed in the past. It's great to be in that company.
I'm going to start off with my usual question. In one sentence, how would you describe Firas Jatou?
Wow, that's a tough question to start off with. I'm an Assyrian nationalist. I know that's not a popular word these days in academia, but I love my people, and I want to leave a heritage that improves our state for the next generation. It's a mouthful. That's not more than a sentence, but I'm sorry.
You're not the first. Don't worry about it. I want to ask you, what is your earliest memory?
Earliest memory? I would say it's in Baghdad, where I was born. It would be during Nusardil, going to an area called Garaj Amana, where there are a lot of Assyrians that live there, where regardless where you come from, what your background, your religion, you're going to be wet. And just walking through to the shops with my mother soaking wet and continuing to have buckets of water from the apartment buildings in that area dumped on us.
So you were born in Baghdad. Tell me about your upbringing in Baghdad. How was that like?
Sure. Born to kind of very diverse parents. My mother is a Moslawi Iraqi. Her father is from the Chaldean Church. Her mother is from the Syrian Catholic Church. My father comes from Nohadra, Duhok. My mother's from Mosul, Nineveh. My father's Assyrian Church of the East. His mother's from the Chaldean Church. So I have, I'm an equal opportunity church member. So we had, we really had a diverse and inclusive family and friends from the Assyrian communities throughout Baghdad and elsewhere, especially in Assyria and northern Iraq. So it was great upbringing till the Iran-Iraq war started, and that's when things really turned backwards for the country, and that's when quick reactions by almost all our relatives of how do we get our kids out of there to prevent them from going to war, including teenagers and even preteens. I was 12 at the time. So it was wonderful till the Iran-Iraq war started and things started going downhill.
Yeah. Now you talk about being born to diverse parents. In the household, was Assyrian the first language? Was it a multilingual household? How would you describe it?
So we, the family was effectively, when you talk about, church affiliation, we were effectively Chaldean. We went to the Chaldean church. We were baptized in the Chaldean church. We had our first communion in the Chaldean church. At home, we spoke Arabic. I did not speak Assyrian at all. I learned Assyrian when I moved to Canada, actually. My father's family, when we went to visit, they spoke Assyrian, and we picked up a few words here and there, but we didn't speak it. We spoke Moslawi, actually, not the typical Iraqi dialect, but the Mosul dialect, which has some elements of Assyrian, modern and ancient, but effectively it's Arabic. So we kind of followed my mother, who comes from a line of that has been impacted substantially by the Arabization that's been going on for a long time in Mosul. But again, we knew just enough to get away with it when we get into the Assyrian neighborhoods. But that was kind of our upbringing. I started by going to school in the Catholic school, as part of the Holy Cross Church, where I was baptized, and my friends were diverse, again, from mostly Assyrians and some Iraqi Arabs as well, but Assyrians from the various churches. We really didn't distinguish, or hey, are you what church? That was really not even a topic. And during the holidays, we went to the churches that were most convenient for us. I never knew till I came to the West. Oh, that church was Chaldean, while this was Church of the East, and this one was the ancient Church of the East. So that wasn't really a topic, to be honest. When we were children, our parents never taught us to differentiate. But we spoke Arabic, and we did have family members that truly felt that they are Christian Arabs. And I do recall my father debating with them oftentimes, and that continued in the West, including my mother, who is Muslawi, who spoke Arabic, did debate. No, our ancient heritage is Assyrian, with her family members that some of them were staunchly against that idea.
So even at an early age, you had this identification via your parents that we are in fact an Assyrian family or an Assyrian household, but through Arabization, this is what we have. This is where we are now.
Absolutely.
Is that how you would characterize it?
Absolutely. Especially when we visited my father's family. My uncle, I remember Uncle William, who passed away in Turkey during his migration out of our homeland. He had a large portrait of Queen Shamiran. And as children, we looked at it. We grew up looking at that and marveling and just full of pride in our heritage. So we knew, there was no question, whether it's in school. If anything, we would be shamed. Oh, if you're an Assyrian, how come you don't speak it?
Yeah.
But we knew absolutely 110% that we're Assyrian.
You say that your parents are originally from Mosul, Nineveh, Nuhadra, Duhok. Did you ever go back as a child, up north for summer vacation or holidays?
Absolutely. Especially to Nuhadra, to Duhok. We visited often, and we had family there, and we stayed and slept over the roofs in the summertime, and we went to their farms, and we enjoyed it. It was heaven for us going to Nuhadra, to Duhok. Mosul less so, because in fact most of my mother's family had migrated to Baghdad or other towns at the time. Several of them also had moved out of the country and to Australia, to the UK. My uncle was teaching; he was a professor in the UK. So we had less family members left from my mother's side.
You say that you said earlier that the Iran-Iraq war was the sort of the impetus of your family migrating out of Iraq. Tell me about those days, what led to the decision to migrate out, and then kind of where your family migrated to.
Yeah, the road was paved long before the war. Every time the Assyrians went through, whether it's genocide or massacres or any war or issues that happen, whether it's in the north of Iraq or elsewhere, some moved out. So the road was paved. As I mentioned, my uncle was a established professor in the UK. My aunt, since the 60s, had moved to Canada. My other aunt had moved to Detroit, Michigan. We had relatives in Sweden, even Australia. So the path was there if we needed. The Iran-Iraq war and the rumors that they're taking kids. In fact, I, at age 12, was brought into training. Early teenager training. We had a military uniform, and we did basically mini army training. And we were all proud we can defend the country. Of course, our parents, this was the red alert. And very quickly, they start communicating with our family. So first chance they got, they put us one by one. My elder brother, then my other brother, Wissam, and then myself. Send them wherever we can get a visa. So my brother went to Canada. Same thing with my other brother, Laith and Wissam. And then myself, I could not get a visa to Canada. I went to the UK where my uncle was teaching. So I spent a few months in the UK and then eventually ended up in Canada. And that's really where the pride and the knowledge about my Assyrian heritage really was nurtured. The first month I was there, I remember we stayed with my aunt. Her husband, Shmail Yonen, was a big influence on me. And so is his father, Shimon, who was in his late 80s at the time. Now he had experienced the genocide. So he remembers as a child.
And this is roughly what year?
This is 82.
Okay.
82 or so. And I recall I arrived there in the first month, my brother's there, and we start speaking Arabic to each other because that's what we're used to. Keep in mind, Arabic was like English here. kids speak English because that's what they hear on TV, that's what they hear in school. So it's the quote unquote cool language. So here I am speaking to my brother in Arabic, and Shumun, my aunt's father-in-law, pulled me outside the house, outside the fence of their home, and he said, "Come here." And in very broken Arabic, because he thought I don't understand English, Assyrian, and I didn't much. And he said, "Do you see this fence of this house?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Inside that fence is Assyria." I said, "Okay." He said, "There's a rule in this Assyria. Once you enter that border, you're not allowed to speak Arabic. Whenever you want to speak to your brother, go outside, speak to him, and come back in. Understand?" Okay. 2 months later, I was fluent in Assyrian. So that was the big first, influence that got me to learn the language. Now, from there, we had really wonderful organizations at the time. There was one called United Assyrian Youth of Canada that had summer programs, very dedicated individuals that came and picked up the kids, for a couple of hours, going to various ends of Toronto, metropolitan Toronto, and pick them up, bring them in. I don't think it was weekly, I think multiple times a week, to learn to read and write Assyrian. So as a teenager, I learned to read and write Assyrian, and really part of it was also making friends, lasting friendships, and learning about our history and heritage and culture. So it was really a wonderful experience. So my hat's off to all those activists. I have to give credit. United Assyrian Youth of Canada was established at the time by members of the Assyrian Universal Alliance. At the time, Assyrian Universal Alliance was the popular political group and international group, so it had a lot of offshoots. And United Assyrian Youth of Canada's founders, a lot of them were members of the Assyrian Universal Alliance. So, but they really did a great job. Even, little things like painting and coloring were all, Assyrian lamassus and God Ashur. So as a teenager, it had a lot of influence on you. Growing up beyond that, in university, I took ancient Near East classes under Professor Amir Harak, who's also Muslawi. And it was a great experience, serendipity, that I went and asked the Ancient Near East division, "Hey, do you have any classes that I can take? I'm in engineering, but can I take these classes because I'm an Assyrian and I love my heritage?" They said, "Oh, we have an Assyrian professor here." I said, "No, there's no such thing. I would have known. We know the community."
Yeah.
"Yes, there is. Here's his name, Professor Amir Harak." And I had the pleasure of meeting him, and that also had a lot of impact on me during university days. But I would say from the activists and nationalists, the people that had the biggest influence were, again, in the spirit of diversity. I come from Iraq. Those that taught me most about nationalism, one is Rabbi Alfred Duman from Iran, and the other is Malfona Ninos Aho from Qamishli, Syria. So really, borders were transparent to me. I did not see those borders. We're Assyrians, and somehow I ended up being in what is called Iraq today. But really, we grew up not making a difference. That is not an element in our calculations in our everyday life, where you come from based on today's borders.
I want you to dive deeper into these two influences, because there was a question that I had prepared in terms of role models. So I don't know if they quite fit role models, these two, but regardless, if you can share a little bit about, Alfred Duman and Ninos Aho, how you came about meeting them and what was so influential about them.
Yeah, Rabbi Alfred Duman was really influenced a lot of people in Canada and elsewhere as well. It was more structured. You basically, here are the books you need to go read and tell me what you've learned from them. Some of them are history. It established that foundation when you read about the contributions that the ancient Assyrians have done. And then even post the collapse of the empire, the contributions, whether it's in Ashur or in Erbil, or even through religious aspects, So it was a lot of fundamentals, I would say. But afterwards, there was a lot of, okay, now that you're proud and you love your nation, now what? Let's learn from other nations. And, whether it's reading Auto Emancipation or Dr. Hillel stuff and how our Semitic cousins, the Jews, how they rose up, how they revitalized their language from effectively death. It had disappeared, and they brought it back to life, predominantly in Russia, today's Russia, was amazing. So a lot of learning there to build up to a dedication that really, what is your purpose in life and how you're going to contribute to your people and leave a legacy where you left it better than you came into it. That was really what, and I had the pleasure and honor that I had almost one-on-one sessions with him. He took the liberty of reaching out, like, I want to meet with you. So it was really an honor to do so.
How did he hear about you? How did you come about?
He knew, again, from the United Assyrian Youth of Canada. He saw that I was active and involved and became on the board. And we did a lot in that organization. Newspapers. We had Nineveh newspaper. This is a full newspaper that we were publishing. We started a radio program. This is the city of Toronto news radio program that was not just given to anyone. I think there were the Italians had it and us. It was a big deal.
Wow.
So a lot of athletics, community events, classes. So we did quite a bit. And a lot of the founders were influenced by him. So through interaction with them, he reached out, and it was a great experience. That helped the foundation, and I was already very, very involved. But a visit by Rabbi Ninos Aho and Rabbi Yosef Bet Yosef, they came to Canada, and that personal experience, actually they came to our home, was really very influential. We grew up listening to their poetry. I remember at the time there were cassette players. So, as you listen to something over a cassette, it wears out. The quality becomes worse and worse. It's an analog device. I must have played that tape, I don't know, 1,000 times. You could hardly understand the words, but they were embedded into our memory. It really made a major impact. To see them, they were icons for us. In Canada, not just for me, many members of the community. So it was really a major impact. And we stayed in contact with Rabbi Yosef Bet Yosef and Menachem Ninos Aho. We became friends, till the last days of Rabbi Ninos Aho. We were very close friends.
Yeah. What was one of the most important things that you learned from Ninos Aho?
Ninos Aho I related to also because, keep in mind, the majority of Eastern Assyrians are from the Church of the East. And while he was from the Syrian Orthodox Church, I was effectively from the Chaldean Church. So I could relate that it wasn't necessarily easy. There were many instances of challenges by Assyrians from the Church of the East that unfortunately did not understand what Assyrian nationalism or ethnicity is, that we ended up being challenged. Why are you speaking? You're not even Assyrian Church of the East. Now, that didn't bother us, nor did it shake our faith in our ethnicity or nationalism. That never bothered us. So we actually welcomed it after a while. So there was that additional tie that made an influence. But also, Malfon Ninos Aho was really underappreciated. He was appreciated for his poetry and his sense of nationalism, but he was really a deep thinker and a forward thinker as well. In 2003, actually before the American invasion, liberation, whichever you prefer, of Iraq, when we got early notice that this is going to happen through some of the Assyrian contacts that we had in the U.S. And elsewhere, he called a meeting, and he didn't include everybody under the sun. He included a few that he felt that could make a difference. that said the floodgates will open. And if we're not prepared as Assyrians, we will go backwards, not forwards. We have to prepare now in the homeland and in the diaspora to be able to take advantage of this. He had a theory, as well as Rabbi Alfred Dubin, that during stable times, you hold on to your position in the community and in the country and develop slowly. And when there are when there are big changes, this is the opportunity to strike and take a major step forward and solidify your position. So at that time, one output of that was the Iraq Sustainable Democracy Project. We started this ISDP. At the time, Michael Yuash was, we had him come from South Africa. He left his job, and we met in New York with Afram Qawmi and a few others like Robert Ghaleta, Dr. Eden Nabi, Katrine Michael, Al-Qushneta, activist still, I think, in Washington, Ninos Aho, myself, a few others, John Michael, Pauline Jassim, and established the Iraq Sustainable Democracy Project, where we're effectively, I don't know if the word is most appropriate word, lobbying in Washington. We started working with the folks in the homeland, especially in the Nineveh Plains, to strengthen that concept and the push for a bit more autonomy in the area. We worked with a few activists from the Assyrian Democratic Movement, especially, but also those that were not involved at all from the Syrian Orthodox and Syrian Catholic Church in the Nineveh Plain and the Chaldean Church, to establish organizations, civic organizations in the Nineveh Plains, to further strengthen our infrastructure. Effectively, do we have the infrastructure to run our areas where we are a majority? Do we have it? Can we run the traffic? Can we run the education system, the electricity, all that infrastructure, but as well as security, protection, and so on? So that was really, I must say, that was Malfona Ninos Aho's thinking when people were writing declarations and worrying about elections, and he was looking forward in what we're going to do to establish that right foundation.
How do you strike while the iron is hot?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a major influence.
You've lived in different areas with Assyrian communities, both in the homeland and in the diaspora. So for example, Toronto, San Jose. How have those collective experiences helped you shape an understanding of what it means to be an Assyrian? What have those experiences taught you?
Good question. I had the privilege to not only live in different countries, but also visit a lot of countries. So obviously we lived in Baghdad, visited North Iraq often, almost every summer as a child. UK, very short, few months, maybe 4 or 5 months before moving to Canada. We used to go to Detroit. I had my cousins and aunts in Detroit, and we used to visit there a lot. Then we moved to Chicago for 5 years, and finally in California. But my work gives me the opportunity to travel a lot to various, countries in Europe, whether it's Sweden and Germany and Netherlands and the UK. So I got to see our communities throughout the world. I had the pleasure to do so. It's really further solidified my dedication and love for our nation. We have a wonderful culture and heritage and diversity that is, to me, it's second to none. It's almost the mosaic, or the pieces of the puzzle pieces that fit together. If you remove any one of them, that whole mosaic of Assyria is just not the same. Mm-hmm. Just meeting Western Assyrians and seeing their love and carrying the flags and love for Assyria, and then going somewhere else and meeting the Catholic Assyrians in France and Sarcelles, and seeing how dedicated they are and the work they've done, and how staunch they are, even in the face of when they have headwinds from their church leaders, and how they stood in front of that. that continuously being challenged. Going to Detroit and meeting Nineveh band, which is, majority were from Al-Qosh at the time, or even, good or bad, the Assyrian groups that were established, whether you want to call it gangs or not, but protecting the Assyrian community was as a child and as a teenager, that was really added to my pride. But the culture, the heritage, the language really helped me further strengthen my love for the nation. Things anecdotal that sometimes one element makes a major impact. I see it even when I speak to young Assyrians today. Sometimes one little thing makes a big trigger. We have a lot of these jewels in our culture and heritage. When they speak about continuity, and are we really the ancient Assyrians? Are we related to them? And sometimes even one word can make a big difference. I tell my son, my 11-year-old son, what we call rainbow? We call it Qishtimaran, the bow of our Lord. What Lord has a bow? And then you look at Allah Ashur. There are hundreds of elements like this that really ties us, shows that thousands of year old history and heritage that we have. And it gives you that pride, but also gives you that sense of responsibility to strengthen it and to nurture it and grow it. So our community can only survive these troubled times, but to thrive for the future.
You travel internationally for work quite often. What are some memorable Assyrian experiences you've had, whether it was meeting with new Assyrians or visiting Assyrians or visiting Assyrian-inspired statues and monuments? What has traveling taught you about yourself and about life?
Well, one of them probably you wouldn't expect. It was in China. I was in China, in Shenzhen, China. This is, basically not far deep inland, where certainly there are no Assyrian remnants. It's a very industrial city. But we had, I was staying over the weekend, so I had worked till Friday and then started again Monday. So I had the weekend, and in front of my hotel was this park, windows to the world. And you can see an Eiffel Tower, you can see a pyramid. So it had, the Chinese government has developed this park, windows to the world, so the Chinese community can go and get an experience and a flavor for all the different aspects of the world without having to travel the world. A lot of miniatures, but these are huge. So let's go see what's this place in front of my hotel. And I had an interpreter with me who's part of our sales organization. And at the gate, very, very large gate, there were these statues, 5 statues, very large, maybe 20-foot high statues. One of them was obviously a Chinese emperor. Another was Alexander the Great. Anyway, I'm not going to name all of them, but one of them was King Sargon. And this was a 20-foot high statue of King Sargon. And I was astonished and surprised. And they're security guards, so people don't jump over the fence. You have to go through, buy a ticket and all that. And I had to jump over the fence, take a picture beside the statue. And the guards were there. And I told my interpreter, can you go ask the guard if it's okay, just jump over the fence, just take a picture. So he went and asked him. And he came back, the guard said, you must be Assyrian. And so we had a conversation through this interpreter. And he, just long story short, he was saying, who else would want to take a picture with King Sargon? You must be an Assyrian and want to take a picture. And I asked him, how do you know King Sargon? He said, well, he was, we learn about this in our education system. He was one that, an usurper. He became the king. It wasn't through his parents, and the whole story of the legendary story of how his mother put him in a basket and down the river, very similar to and this was a security guard at the gate. So it really gave me a major sense of pride of our culture and heritage. So that's one that didn't really involve any Assyrians, but an ancient Assyrian, King Sargon. But certainly Sweden and Netherlands, I've made lifelong friends. I consider them family, whether it's Saliba from Germany or Mate or Attia Khamri from Holland and many others. Really, they're part of the family.
You've had investments in Assyria. Could you walk us through how that started? Who did you start that with? What benefits have you and the community reaped? And how can others who have this calling follow suit?
Yeah, good question. This is a bit of a mixed bag. At one point we had the opportunity, myself with Edessa and others, to give a talk here in San Jose about this.
Edessa being one of the co-hosts or the co-founders of the Assyrian Podcast.
Edessa, yeah. Okay. I mentioned that this is high risk investment. This is not for, not necessarily for everybody. It's not coming because for investment's sake. If it's for investment's sake, go invest in more safe, go invest in Costco or in Google. But this is really an investment, but at the same time, really to help our people. So early on, I think in 2004, I went to Assyria and in Turkey, basically part of Turkey and also part of Iraq at the time, from Diyarbakir, and we drove through the whole region and southeast Turkey, that path all the way to Zaho and then down to the Nineveh Plains. That was at the time, things were looking up, and that's when we surveyed where we believe, not only myself, but I wanted to kind of let the communities throughout the world know where we should strengthen our existence and by also investing.
What year was this?
2004.
And who was with you? Were you spearheading the efforts, or were there other investors from America or Canada with you?
Absolutely. It wasn't just me. There are a few others that were part of this. One of them is Dr. John Michael in Chicago. Another is Dr. Robert Karukian out of San Francisco. Myself. We had a partner who was my first cousin. We're lucky because he actually moved back. He's an Australian citizen, moved to the U.S., immigrated to the U.S. He was living here, but he just didn't like Australia. He didn't like the U.S. He wanted to go back. So he said, I can manage it. So we started a company, Atra Corporation, and we invested our money to buy lands, largely in areas where the majority of the inhabitants are Assyrian, in the Nineveh Plains. And the lands we acquired, or the businesses we acquired, were mostly ones that were either given by the previous regime, the Saddam regime, to Ba'ath members that are non-Assyrian, that are trying to profit, and so they put their land for sale. We would quickly grab it. And some of them were house lots that were not built. So you'll see 50 homes of Assyrians and a couple of lots that are basically a garbage dump, and they haven't built it, or they're just really not taking care of the area. So they put it up for sale, and we would grab it, and we build them. We built homes. The late Bishop Faraj Rahul actually bought one of our properties that we built in Baghdad. It became the Chaldean center because at one point a lot of people were fleeing Baghdad to the north, and some were going actually to Baghdad, despite the fact that Baghdad was predominantly Syrian Catholic. But they know these are their people. Yeah. They did not differentiate by churches, but the church did not have a major center to welcome them, take care of them. So they bought one of our properties. That proudly had the Assyrian star in stone in the front of it. They purchased that and used it to kind of welcome these internally displaced people.
Almost like a community center, maybe.
Yeah, or to place them, to find a home for them, and or for a few days that had several rooms. That was one example. We bought farmland. We had a chicken farm. Some of it was partnership with local Assyrians. There was one local Syriac Assyrian in Baghdad, in the south of Baghdad, closer to Nimrud, actually, the ancient city of Nimrud, who had a tile factory. It's a small, modest tile factory, but he couldn't deliver his tiles that he made there out of the stones from the Nineveh plain because he didn't have a truck. He didn't have a generator, so he was at the mercy of when electricity is running to make tiles. So he couldn't really make any commitments on tiles to builders without it. So we would go in, we'd give him some capital. We got a truck, we got a generator, and now the manufacturing was humming again. So things like that really was our goal. There was some in Kau as well, just to have a place as people. We were hoping that as people come in and out, and as more Assyrians go in to view the investments, and they needed a place to stay, and if there are no hotels, we'd have a place as well for them. So that was the intention. We had grandiose plans of winter farming that was quite lucrative. Turkey and Lebanon was doing it because we had the right environment to do winter farming for vegetables for Europe, because we can start winter farming a few months earlier and then you can export it. So we did a lot of research and work and investment. Quite a bit of my savings went into that. It was a mixed bag. With ISIS coming in, a lot of those properties were destroyed. The chicken farm was certainly destroyed. The well that we had, which was amazing, that's a whole story by itself, because we think we tapped into the waterways of King Sennacherib, because it was not local water from
this
Baghdad. This is Karamles, yeah. And we did not have to dig deep as all the other wells were. That's a long story, which was amazing by itself. But there were a lot of them were destroyed. We did rebuild the farm. We had a farm that was completely dried out, and we rebuilt that. That's ongoing. Some of our lands are still there, and we're maintaining them. But there's no major production going on that actually generates income. So from a investment, certainly this has not been a lucrative investment where I've made money, certainly.
Right.
But the feeling that I've contributed to people's lives there, and their families that have made a living running them. And even now, there's a family that runs the farm. The output of the farm at least pays their salary.
Sure.
That gives me a sense of satisfaction that I've contributed in that way. And I wouldn't say it's been a loss. We still own these lands. So if we ever wanted to sell them, our investment has not deteriorated. Let me put it that way.
Sure.
So my hopes were much larger. Unfortunately,
Right.
ISIS hasn't helped, and the current regime is not helping.
Which regime?
The Iraqi regime. And frankly, our Assyrian representatives are, I think, unfortunately, are busy with other priorities than to develop that infrastructure.
I want to continue on this topic because it's we see this organic interest, whether it's rebuilding homes in Jalliq near Barwar, or we hear talk of let's rebuild Nala, let's try to strike gold with whether it's agriculture, tourism, dachen from the sesame that they grow. What is advice that you would give to individuals or collective groups that want to pursue this idea, kind of a 2.0 of Atra Corporation?
First, if we just look at it objectively for a second, and we did a survey, if tomorrow we did a survey, I assure you there are a lot more Assyrians that have invested in Bitcoin than in their own homeland. Bitcoin is quite... I would say very. It's not stable investment. Your money can be lost in an instant. Can be decimated. I feel that Assyrians have much higher bar for safety when it comes to investment in the homeland than when they go to Vegas or go into Bitcoin or in the stock market. I ask our people, and I hope this interview reaches people, to lower that bar. Treat it. This is an investment. It's a feel-good investment. Where else can you make an investment and you're helping your people at the same time. You could just donate to organizations and, and have it go, and they'll utilize it as they see fit. Or you can direct that. If you want to, it's not a donation, it's an investment, number one. So your money is not disappearing, but also you can really make an impact to people's lives there. I've been to Nala. It's a beautiful place. It's to me, it's heaven on earth. I can live there. I can see myself living there. Imagine if there are homes there that we can go and spend the summer. Sure, there's absolutely. I'm not blind to the attacks by the Turks or the PKK that's doing training. I've seen them with my own eyes. I've seen the PKK doing training there. Yes, there's absolutely risk involved. But that slight chance that you can help a family make a living, you can establish a product that Assyrians worldwide and non-Assyrians can enjoy, that was made by Assyrians and allows them to survive and thrive, is priceless to me. Take a leap of faith and make that investment and go for it. I have not been disappointed in anything we've done there, whether it's been destroyed by ISIS or the military airstrikes by the US, thinking ISIS are hiding in the chicken farms that we had. Nonetheless, I still have that. I can still rebuild it. I'm super excited about some of the work that I've seen being done, small chicken farms or tachin or other small things. They may seem small, but when you aggregate all those investments, it's huge.
Right.
Now, I do have one pet peeve that I find a lot of Assyrian nationalists kind of gravitate towards areas where there are a lot of Assyrian nationalists already, like Nala, like Barwar. Maybe if they push the envelope, then it's Nohadra. The majority of our Assyrians are not in Nala. The majority of our infrastructure is not in Nala. Not to discourage doing things in Nala, but also cast a wider net. You'd be surprised what you'll find in the Ninwa Plains and Ankawa and Erbil and other areas as well. We have many villages dotting the Ninwa Plains between Erbil and the Karamles, Baghdada, and Bartalla. Small villages. How about projects there? I have seen some projects by Shlama there, and maybe some by the Assyrian Aid Society in collaboration with others, which is great. We need to do a lot more. It should be proportional. If 80% of our people are living in the Ninwa Plain and Ankawa and Nohadra, we should keep that proportion in mind.
Oh yeah.
And it is not only it's an investment, but it's also strengthening our diversity and inclusion. Assyria will not survive just among the Assyrian nationalists in our own inner circle. We have to have more outreach. You'll be pleasantly surprised what you'll find.
You've had many experiences working with different groups and Assyrian initiatives. What do you see as a pain point in our nation's efforts of building up, whether in the homeland or diaspora? What are one or two examples that you've seen work that others can adopt or tweak and implement?
Do you mean Assyrian organizations or organizations in general?
I would start with Assyrian organizations.
I've been working with the Assyrian organization, and I continue to do so. I respect them, and I appreciate all the hard work they're doing. At an early, since the 90s, there was quite a bit of focus on working and helping the Assyrian Democratic Movement, mainly because they were the de facto Assyrian organization in Iraq working for the rights of our people. So certainly with the Assyrian Democratic Movement, worked more on an academic level with the Mutakasta Assyrian Democratic Organization in Europe and Syria, AUA. All Assyrian organizations that are working for our people are ones worthy of support, and we continue to do this. So the problem I've seen, and it's more of my learning from non-Assyrian corporations where I've been working for well over 20 years now, is we fail to figure out a formula to scale, to grow. We continue utilizing our same methodology and rely on one element, which is nationalism and love of nation, that to help us grow. And that only goes so far. You have to build a foundation and develop the grassroots effort and really expand and do a lot of outreach and set up the institutions to help you grow and scale. We have not done that, unfortunately. All our organizations, whether it's the Assyrian Universal Alliance, Takasta, ADO, ADM, and more recently Bnei Nahran, Sons of Mesopotamia, they have not been able to grow. They continue to do the same thing and hope that you build it and they will come. It just doesn't work that way. You set goals and you work towards achieving them, and you continue to refine them and grow them further. And you need some continuity, but you need also new blood. We have not done that. We continue to do the same old, and that is something that we have to take a step back, do some soul searching, and this is not the leadership. It's all members of these organizations say, what are we doing here? How can we change that? And also do an assessment. I work for a publicly traded company. We have a board and we have a lot of shareholders. We're effectively all shareholders in these institutions. If we see them not growing, not succeeding, we can speak up.
Sure.
We should speak up. We should not feel guilty about criticizing. It's constructive criticism, and we have to do that. And my experience has been, I have to say, somewhat disappointing, because I haven't seen the renewal in these organizations, and I'm afraid that if they don't, then they will see the same fate of previous political organizations or international organizations, that they will not grow. They'll remain and they will help and they'll contribute, and my hat's off to them, but they'll hit that ceiling of what they can do.
You have a young son, Taishan. As he grows older, what type of community would you like to see in place so that he may continue to serve in it, be proud of it, and continue to grow it?
Yeah, my son is 11 years old, Taishan, named after the first century Assyrian philosopher and apologist. I felt that's first. I just want to say that I felt that name should be maintained and kind of embedded into our community again. I know there's a couple of other Taishans in our community, so I'm glad I'm not the only one. He was a philosopher that was a proud Assyrian and well past the empire. It starts at home. It's my education, my parenting to him, to be proud of his culture, to learn his culture and language, and instill in him the responsibility that there's a case. We have a case that has yet to be settled, that he has a responsibility to carry that on and take it to new heights. Not just him, but with his friends. So first, the education. Second, establish that networking, that community, that lifelong friends that are Assyrians, that they can work together towards the betterment of our people. So that comes from community organizations, community functions. Oftentimes we get involved in Assyrian affairs and we think high level, let's go to Washington and work and let's come up with a declaration and Buyana. Something happens and you see a Buyana come out on the internet. I've done my job.
Yeah.
I've done my job. I've written a declaration. We are disappointed with the bombing. And then what? We should change our mode of operation to work on multi-pronged approach. Do that, plus work within your community, work within your family. Instill that pride and sense of responsibility into your children. Establish that network so he has friends. They play gaming. Kids today, they're all on video games. Well, he plays video games, but his group are an Assyrian group. While they're talking, video games, they also speak not about games and say, what are we going to do to get Assyria back? We've heard Assyria will be back in 2050. I didn't tell him this. My son's saying, I heard Assyria will be back in 2050. We're going to work towards that. Apparently, Rabininos Ahos, he said at some point, Assyria will be back in 2050, somehow has made it to the children of today, not through me. So, but I feel that I've contributed to his pride and, the little things, sometimes the little things. We go into a ride in Santa Cruz, a roller coaster that's scary. And he's like, I'm scared, Dad. I'm like, you have the heart of a Lamasu. You can do it. Yes, Dad, I can do it. Even the little things.
Yeah.
It reminds me when we were in Canada, United Assyrian Youth of Canada, we had a lot of kids programs. And every Assyrian New Year, we used to take buses and take the kids to the museum there. And the museum had a natural history museum, but also had an Assyrian tree of life and had some Assyrian replicas from Nineveh and Nimrud and others. So while waiting, because it was a large group, we had maybe 100, maybe 150 kids.
Yeah.
They put us in the natural history museum section to wait to get in. And 150 kids running around, you have to keep them occupied. So I remember myself and a few others, we were creating stories for them. And I was in early 20s, maybe 19, 20. So there's a big dinosaur and there's a caveman in front of them. Scared of the dinosaur, and they're all afraid looking at the dinosaur, very scary. I said, it's very scary, right? Yeah. So guess, they no longer exist. Guess what happened? The Assyrians got rid of them all. And they're like, yeah, that's the wrong thing to do. I feel bad. I apologize to all the Assyrian kids. But now that we've grown, we're visiting family in Canada last year. And one of our relatives, Ramson, his wife, Dahlia, who's a lawyer now, a successful lawyer, she goes, you know how many years I remember I thought the Assyrians got rid of the dinosaurs till in school they taught me otherwise? I'm like, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm not saying you do that for your kids, folks that are listening to this program, but instill the pride and the culture and the language into your children, and you'll be amazed what they can do.
Assyrians living in the diaspora are at the risk of losing their Assyrian identity due to assimilation, as it becomes increasingly difficult to maintain one's culture and language if you are second or third generation born and raised in a foreign country. At the current migration rate, we may not have an Assyrian continuity in 50 or 100 years' time. As a nation, we are at the risk of becoming extinct. We heard you in the past discussing the importance of keeping our Assyrian communities and towns in the homeland such as Al-Qush, Nahla Valley, Baghdad, Nuhadra, Arbil, and Ankawa alive, as they are crucial to the continuity of our identity. In your own words, you said that they are like a fountain for this identity and a gift that keeps on giving. For those of us living in the diaspora and wanting to support these communities, can you share some advice or practical steps to follow to help these communities beyond just engaging in some internet or social media activism, which may have little or no impact on improving the state of these communities?
Great. That's correct. I should give credit that theory of a fountain. Just to explain to the listeners, if you look at the population of, say, Al-Qush, at maximum it's been 5,000, minimum 1,000 to 5,000. But I challenge anyone to go to any major city in the US or in Europe or in Australia that has a major Assyrian community, and you'll find Al-Qushnaya there. So Al-Qush, while it's been 1,000 to 5,000, has been the source of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands worldwide. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by fountain. These villages and the birth rate and the sense of language, culture, and heritage that's instilled in those people is very strong. So that's why we really need to strengthen those sources. If it's water, those are sources of water.
Sure.
So that's why they're super critical to help them not only survive but thrive. We've talked about some of the potential investments and programs we can do, some of the organizations like Shlama and Aid Society that do have projects in these areas and influence those projects towards those areas. But even on a smaller scale, Nala, you see people from Nala throughout the world, even though it's, I don't know, a couple of thousand people, maybe
Right.
more. So helping them and establish programs that keep people there, not just for pictures, but really for a livelihood. So definitely I encourage those things. So, investments and, whether it's schools as well. It would be a shame. Last time I remember I was there in 2016. It's been a while. With the Assyrian Aid Society office, I was sitting there, and a principal or a director of certain schools came in to talk to the late director of the Assyrian Society. We want to close a particular school. It's in one area of where Assyrians live, because we don't have the money to pay the teachers, or we have too few students, some because they've gone away, and some of the classes at the time were still internally displaced people from Nineveh Plains were still living in the classrooms, so we want to close it. And it's a shame. I mean, I felt sad about it, and luckily the forward-thinking reversed that, said, no, we are not closing it. I don't care what we need to do. Let's shut down some other... how many buses do we have in Ankawa for Arba Illo school? Let's use one of those buses and send it there. So really to maintain it. We could have easily said, it's a bus. The Assyrian community in Detroit, Michigan, or in Chicago cannot afford a bus. Right? Those are simple things that we can do. So helping not only just through donations, directed, I want it for this project, or go and invest yourself, like you said, tachen or other dried goods or soap, like we see all this specialty soaps from far regions in Turkey and in China being sold in shops, in our own Assyrian shops.
Oh yeah,
it's a shame that we don't have our own stuff there.
Products, yeah.
I'm proud to go. I was in San Diego recently, and I see there's an Elqish brand of tachen and baklawan and other dried goods. That's awesome. We should do the same thing with Nala and others, and Telkepe, and you name it, Baghdada. We should keep doing that. Have multiple brands. So I think just instilling that and continuing to do that and lower the bar of safety in your investment again.
We heard you in the past discussing your passion for supporting and empowering Assyrian communities in the diaspora through education and job opportunities to achieve a higher status in life. Can you please share some thoughts on how this can be achieved, and what are some of the practical steps that we as individuals and a collective can undertake to get us there?
Professional development, and just not necessarily just in academia, but obviously through jobs and businesses as well, entrepreneurship as well, are all key for our success. Just like the homeland is the fountain that brings about people to keep our continuity as a people, to keep our culture alive, and as people, some of them emigrate, and keep our language and culture and heritage alive, we need to be that financial and entrepreneurial fountain for our community in the diaspora, but also in the homeland. There are some very practical steps of helping each other, especially new college grads land a job. For those of us that are professionals, helping each other to find work, partnering with them in certain endeavors, helping with scholarships. I'm glad to have organizations like the Assyrian Foundation of America that helps Assyrians throughout the world with their academic development, largely in Assyrian studies, but not necessarily. A long time ago, when I used to live in Chicago, I was a member of the Assyrian Academic Society. And we had some folks criticize, oh, it feels like an organization for professionals, to meet, and isn't that a bit, pompous, or it's elite to do that. And I felt awkward about that because throughout my life I've been working with everybody. I don't, I didn't really feel that way, so it kind of took me. I was shocked by that, and I felt somewhat apologetic. And I remember one of the members, John Michael, said, "We need to do even more. We should have even more. We should have organizations throughout the whole hierarchy. We should have like an Assyrian professors organized. All the professors and academicians should have one, and professionals and entrepreneurs. It's okay. It's part of diversity and inclusion. It's not exclusive club. We have multiple organizations that allow people of similar likes to be involved. Some may not feel comfortable in one organization. Oh, there's an Assyrian engineering organization. I'm an engineer. Let me go see how I can contribute. Have those opportunities. But when you look at it, when you aggregate all these together, it's a net positive that you have more diversity and inclusion in those that are active, as opposed to passively sit and watch over the internet what's happening with our nation and do a Facebook like. That like doesn't buy bread. Doesn't lema chalechna, as Assyrians say. It doesn't feed the hungry, right? So basically, help each other. Number one, a good example is if you look at the Armenian community, how they've helped each other. We can do a lot of that. I know there's a lot of that happening, by the way, and some of them personally take it on, some of it organizationally. I know the Assyrian organization here, the association here in San Jose, always as they get a note of a job from another Assyrian in the Bay Area and technology, they try to send it to all the members and say, hey, there's a job at Adobe or at Amazon or Google. If you're interested, contact so-and-so. So even those little things make a big difference, but also business. I know folks like Nora Lacey has been quite active in helping Assyrian women to establish businesses. That's a great initiative. I wish more can do those things. Also, especially among Assyrian nationalists, there's this dilemma. Anything I do here in diaspora, is that kind of taking away from helping Assyrians in the homeland? And they feel sometimes they feel guilty, like maybe I should only help there and not here. No, we should be able to scale. We have to be there needs to be a multi-pronged approach.
Right.
Keep in mind, there's 90%, maybe more, of our people are in the diaspora. Mm-hmm. We can't forget about them. We have to work on both.
Yeah.
So no shame in that. We need more of it.
There's a definite emphasis on succeeding in one's career in order to be truly effective in assisting one's nation, like you spoke about. Is there any wisdoms and valuable input you have experienced in your successful career that can be applied to our community?
My mother has always taught me to be humble and not to, so I don't really like to talk about this. But I'm really appreciative of where the things I've accomplished. But part of it is taking it one day at a time and being humble. And every gain is something that I, in my career, has been a blessing. The one thing I would say is not to try to take shortcuts. I've seen too many people try to succeed too quickly and try to do everything, to find shortcuts, and it has, it hasn't worked out as well long term. So think long term. Think about leaving a legacy for your children and for the next generation. Not just I have to prove to myself now, and I have to get rich and successful in my job tomorrow. Certain things take time, and you have to work on those, but slowly but surely. Every day should be better than the day before. That's kind of how I've looked at it. Karma, be positive and supportive, and support will come back to you without having to compromise. And this is personally in career or in Assyrian affairs. Be kind to your people and help them, regardless what community they're from, what church affiliation, without compromising. Going back to that topic, because it's really important to me. We talk about success, and on average, we've been quite successful in America. It just so happens it's mostly within the Chaldean Assyrian community in Detroit. I mean, the number of hotels that our people own is unprecedented in our history.
Absolutely, yeah.
The number of businesses. Look at the community centers we have there.
The country club.
Yeah. Club, the foundation, the museum, and so on. We've done a lot of good work, but there's still that stigma that, we're different. We're not. We're absolutely not different. I'm living proof of it, and many others. So I think it is important to continue to focus on diversity and inclusion within Assyrian affairs without compromising our Assyrian nationalism. I am a member of the Chaldean Church. I'm proud of the Chaldean Church as well as our other Assyrian churches. But those things are not, we shouldn't confuse them. These things are not mutually exclusive. My ethnicity is Assyrian. Whether any priest or bishop or patriarch likes it or not. If those ever become mutually exclusive, I have many churches to choose from within my nation that I can go and pray and have a connection with Jesus Christ. But I'm an Assyrian. I was born an Assyrian. I will die an Assyrian, as my late patriarch said so.
Earlier you spoke about the Assyrian Academic Society. And when I think of Assyrian Academic Society, I think of Dr. Edward Odishu. I think of yourself. I think of Dr. John Michael, Robert De Caleta. And if I'm missing anyone else, please feel free to mention them. But what happened to the Assyrian Academic Society, and what is currently the state of affairs for Assyrian academics?
Yeah, the Assyrian Academic Society was a wonderful organization, in my opinion. I believe, unless I'm mistaken, but what I recall, it was founded by Dr. Edward Odishu, who I have tremendous respect for. Dr. Robert Polosian was also a key member, and it had its journal, Assyrian Academic Society, which ended up spinning out as Journal of Assyrian Academic Studies as a separate entity. Was great. We, at one point when I moved actually from Chicago to the Bay Area, I started a Bay Area chapter of the Assyrian Academic Society. We had a few members, we had a few meetings. Unfortunately, that organization ceased to exist in Chicago, which is quite unfortunate. It's sad. The last administration, in an effort to expand, it almost feels to me on a much, much, much smaller scale what happened to the Assyrian Empire. It expanded. We had a Bay Area chapter. We had a new board that was global. We had members of the board that are from Europe and from Boston and Chicago and maybe even Australia, and they couldn't pursue it. Many of them were in academia. They were pursuing their PhD or masters, and the volunteerism versus getting your PhD dissertation done conflicted with each other, and it just unfortunately the administration after the one when I was leading it lasted maybe 7 or 8 months, and they decided to put a hold on it, stop the organization. Now, the one good outcome of it is some of those board members eventually ended up establishing an Assyrian Studies Association, which is a wonderful organization. I'm an advisor to it. That is active right now. They continue to do good work. It's still in its infancies, but I would say that's kind of the Assyrian Academic Society kind of transformed to the 2.0, which is the Assyrian Studies Association. Also, many members and participants have gone on to become professors or educators in Assyrian studies. It has helped lay the foundation in many organizations, academic organizations, and conferences where there's a specific field called Assyrian Studies, which did not exist in the past. That's, in my opinion, a major plus. That's one of those steps forward that we have taken that we're quite proud of. So, for example, if you look at the Middle East Studies Association, MESA, which is a very large academic conference, Assyrian Studies is now a field. You can submit a paper and, in what field is it? You'll see in it Assyrian Studies. Wow. So establishing that was through a lot of efforts at the time by Dr. Sargon Donabed. Also contributing to that is Dr. Eden Nabi and Shamir and Makhu and several others that we have. I'm really tremendously proud of a lot of the members that were there or students that were helped at the time through the Assyrian Academic Society are now professionals, whether Academic Society or Foundation or others. Yeah. We help them that now we have, I can count, maybe 30, 40, 50 people in academia that are Assyrian and are quite, involved in their aspects on Assyrian studies.
Firas, you have supported a reformist Assyrian political movement in Iraq, also known as Bnei Nahran or Sons of Mesopotamia. Do you believe they have succeeded in their mission? Is it even attainable in a very corrupt and tribal Iraq?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've supported effectively all our Assyrian political movements as far as I've been involved in Assyrian affairs. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the Assyrian Universal Alliance or Assyrian Democratic Movement, Takasta, the true nationalist organizations that are not tied to, let's say, certain governments or non-Assyrian governments. So right. Those that are, I would say, truly free and committed to our people. However, I have been sadly disappointed with their success. All their success, including Bnei Nahran, has been quite limited. And you already, as we've seen in the past, it feels that the story is repeating itself. You do see the sunset on all these organizations. Mm-hmm. They start off well, they get a lot of support from the community, and yet again we get disappointed by a lack of progress among them, including Bnei Nahran. I do, however, feel that they have pushed the envelope in the level of sacrifice we take during these times. What happens often is organizations start and they start off strong, and oftentimes there's some ideals that are founded. For example, let's take the Assyrian Democratic Movement. Amazing organization, had really a major drive in terms of nationalism and unity of our people, and they've sacrificed. We've had members of the Assyrian Democratic Movement that gave their lives in pursuit of our rights. That gave us those ideals that we have to live by. But it transformed into, I'm going to work in politics and get a seat and work behind closed doors and work with the government. Please, everyone, let us do our political work. And we've lost that zeal to work on our rights. So it became kind of stagnant. Our movement in general in Iraq and in other countries, Iran and Syria and Turkey. And there was a bit of a worry or fear of taking further action. When our lands are expropriated, we should go and demonstrate in front of the government building. Well, no, let's not do that. Maybe someone will get arrested. So if that's the case, then basically the level of sacrifice our Assyrian nationalists are willing to take has been lowered substantially. Bnei Nahran, when they came in, they did take that step. No, we will go demonstrate. And if it puts us on some blacklist or some of us may get arrested, so be it. So that I welcomed. We need more of that. This is something that I've been wanting to see more of. The typical criticism would be, oh yeah, why don't you come and do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I am not the representative. If I'm the representative of the Assyrians, yes, I will take some steps. And if it causes me it puts me in jeopardy, then that's part of the job, right? So if our elected officials should go work for our rights. And that's what I haven't been seeing. Whether it's in Iran, our elected officials there, or in Iraq, I haven't seen it. Whether it's in the Iraqi government or in the Kurdistan regional government.
Right.
It's not, the level of sacrifice is just not there. It's not like Sahda Yosef, Hubert Yuchanna. It's not like those in Qamishli that were imprisoned at the time, Ablahad and others. Or certainly not like even in 100 years ago or more, Freydon Al-Tarai and others. So I have been disappointed, in all honesty. I appreciate and respect that they're trying, but I'm sorry, just the actions speak louder than words. I'm not seeing the progress that our people expect. So and it's not any different. You pick the political organization, and I think the story seems to repeat itself, unfortunately. I am hopeful that renewal comes, whether it's in Bnei Nahran, whether it's in the Assyrian Democratic Movement. It's time for the new generation to take charge. I'm hopeful of some of the great people we have there, like Dr. Munayako, that I think she's educated and not afraid to say what's on her mind.
Can you expand on her role and what it is that she does for the listeners?
Well, her role, as I understand it, is it's more of a kind of a human rights, especially for minorities, and it's an independent commission. It's not like those Assyrian members of the KRG that are in the voting version of Congress that they have there.
Sure.
It's an independent organization, but it does have the ear of the government. Whether they act on it or not is yet to be seen. But from what I've seen from her actions when the KRG started an initiative to rewrite their constitution, she was invited as an expert to contribute. Her contributions were bold, they were honest, and they were definitely things that have never been said since the creation of Kurdistan regional government. Things like the flag does not represent the mosaic of this region. It should have maybe an Assyrian Lamasu on it. Mm-hmm. Assyrian needs to be an official language. It shouldn't be called Kurdistan even. Those are bold statements that in the past, even when we said it from a diaspora, our Assyrian leaders were criticized us, including myself. I was one of the founders of the Assyrian International News Agency, AINA. I'm no longer part of that, but I'm proud to have been one of the few that started the Assyrian International News Agency. When we criticized some Kurdish actions, we were not criticized by Kurds, but by our own leaders. Hey, you're disrupting our political acrobatics that we're doing here to gain our rights. By doing this, you're throwing a monkey wrench in that.
Wow.
Well, okay, I don't see the progress. So now, we need more bold statements by experts in the field. And her statements, I was very impressed by them because they did not just come from her feeling of nationalism like mine that are kind of regular laymen. Her came from backgrounds in human rights, in law, and she can reference things from United Nations here based on so-and-so. This is why it's not right to not include the Assyrian community in the flag and things like that. So I'm hopeful that she gets that having her there, and I hope she gets the support. And I'm hopeful that our people do not assess or gauge their support based on family affiliation or political affiliation. Dr. Munayako is not a member of Kurdistan Democratic Party. She's not a member of the Assyrian Democratic Movement. She's not a member of Bnei Nahran. She's an independent professional. She's a professor, and she's an Assyrian nationalist, and I hope everyone supports her. She's not the only one. There are a lot of others. And we have to, that's one thing we can do, is influence the direction there by supporting those that do good work for us and not supporting those that are not doing good work for us. This is one way to be, quote unquote, shareholders. We have a share in this, in our future, and we need to take action on that and not just be bystanders in this.
What is your view on voting in Iraq? So Assyrians are under a quota system where there's an X number of seats allocated to Christians.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind that the Iraqi political system is broken, and elections are a bit of a charade. It's a bit of a joke, in all honesty. Voting or not voting, and the counting of the votes is all up in the air. It all depends who's leading, who's running the show at the time, and if it meets their needs. I think the elections, us taking part in the elections, is good from an optics point of view. They see Assyrians coming out and voting. We should utilize that to show that we're Assyrians and we're here to vote. And we should utilize it in the media and in PR. But as far as actual count, I don't think we should rely on that. And unfortunately, the system is so corrupt that I'm not hopeful that the elections will be accurate and based on what the people's needs are. To further complicate things, non-political organizations, frankly, religious organizations, are involved when they really shouldn't be. And they're influencing even our own voting system when they should be. Can you give an example? Well, for example, my patriarch, Mar Luis Sacco, his recent actions, it has been built up for a few years with his establishment of independent Chaldean organizations. I don't know what that means, because to me, Chaldean is a church affiliation. He's established as a political party and went around the world, a campaign to establish them worldwide in different areas, and has actively campaigned and supported having Chaldean as a separate entity, and just so timely, just before the elections, in order to influence who gets into taking, who would get those seats. But ultimately, at the end of the day, who gets a seat in that on the table is still ineffective. As we've seen over since 2004, it has been largely ineffective. We have not really made any major steps forward by having a minister there, or two ministers there, or 5 representatives, or 3 representatives. Oh, we only had 1 this time, and 4 were representatives who are basically puppets of the KDP or the Shiite government or Shiite groups. So I'm not holding my breath that things will change anytime soon, and nor can we influence the entire Iraqi political system. It will have to come on a national level as far as Iraq is concerned. I was hopeful when the Iraqi demonstrations were happening, and I was hoping, almost 2 years ago now, well, throughout, in Basra as well, and other provinces as well, that'll bring about change, but unfortunately it has not yet. But till that changes, I'm not hopeful that the elections will mean anything. We should continue to fight for our rights, whether we have a position or 2 or 5 in the government or not.
What do the next 25 years have in store for you?
Other than growing old? Well, I plan to continue in my career to develop it further, and so I could leave a legacy for my son and for my family and for my community, certainly. I would love to see me grow our investments and our work in the Nineveh Plain. I'm hopeful as I see things in at least in the Telkepe area with Bassem Bellu leading a lot of infrastructure development. I'd love to invest there further. And
his position there, is he deputy mayor, or?
I'm not sure of the direct translation, but that region, which is Telkepe,
Like a governorate?
it's not the government, not the entire province,
Okay.
but that area, Telkepe district. I believe it's a district, is a Qaba, that he's the mayor of that district. I do get almost daily activities of road infrastructure, water, schools that he's developing. And it's great to have one of our people there. So I'd love to invest further there as I can. And I hope that the situation there gets better to allow this to grow, to beyond a few individuals. Continue to encourage Assyrian studies in the next 25 years to have it established in more universities. We're looking at Salamanca, Spain with Dr. Ephraim Yildiz, potentially to do more there. Here with Nora Lacey, the work that she's doing there, hopefully that can get back on track. There are some issues there. But I'd like to expand the Assyrian studies where I can on a personal level, but also with institutions. I will continue to shy away from doing things on a personal level, to be honest. We need to invest in our institutions. If you do this something on a personal level, it can grow, but as priorities change in your life, as we've seen with academics, when they have a dissertation to do, they stop with doing work, or personally, we've had some wonderful things like Zinda magazine. I'd love to see that come back. But we need to do more things through institutions and not on a personal level, because they come and go. Institutions can remain. So further supporting our institutions and strengthening them to help them thrive in the future.
What is something unique or special that many people don't know about you?
Good question. I guess unique is that I haven't seen many people have this. Is my wife and I both share the same birth date, January 25th.
The same year as well? Or?
No, different years, but same date. We have a lot in common, both left-handed. So that's, I guess, unique. Otherwise,
is your son left-handed too?
No, he's not. Nor is he an Aquarius. I guess that's unique. Otherwise, I'm a regular. I'm just a regular guy that taking it one day at a time.
Firas, we have listeners from all over the world. What is one thing that you'd like to leave them with?
I guess I'll use the words of the late Malfono Ninos Aho, what he used to say to his kids and to many of his students. To be an Assyrian, you have to be the best and the first. So strive for excellence in everything you do. Good things will happen to you and the people around you. So strive for excellence. We do have it, in my opinion, in our DNA. Keep doing that and instill the language and culture in your children. Take examples of people like Dr. Sargon Donabed, who's a third-generation Assyrian, or her professional name is Sarah Thomas,
yes,
who's a fourth-generation Assyrian. Her father, she was born here, her father was born here, her grandfather was also born here, and she still speaks our language, she sings our language, she's quite involved. So again, strive for excellence and maintain our language, culture, and heritage.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.